The Tar Heels land West Virginia transfer James Okonkwo last week, and it's the front court depth I've been telling you the Tar Heels need. The question now becomes, is the roster complete for next season?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Monday, July 10th, 2023. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and I want to thank you for joining us for today's episode. Coming up on the show today, man, we're going to look at the Tar Heels in Summer League. Matt Horvath got some great baseball news on Sunday night. But before we get to any of that, we do want to talk about James Okonkwo. And first off, I want to say a word of apology for not being able to talk about him on Friday's show. I was away and still am away on vacation with my family, traveling around with my wife, doing some ministry stuff, and had to pre-record last Friday's show. And of course, that's what happens when you're gone and you pre-record, is that there's a commitment that happens. So my apologies for that. But as I said on social media and elsewhere, we're going to talk about Okonkwo today. Also, if my background looks different for those of you that are watching, I am actually coming to you from my parents' house in Tennessee. So I'll be doing that all week, by the way. So get used to this background for a couple days. Okay, let's get into Okonkwo. I've said for a while, since Carolina reached out to both of these potential West Virginia front court transfers in Mohamed Wague and James Okonkwo, I had said from the beginning that I preferred Wague. Here's why. My opinion was and is that Wague is more ready right now to help right now. But here's what I also want to say that I don't know that I've said, but I'll say it now, is that while Wague, is, I believe, the more ready of the two currently, I think Okonkwo might have the higher ceiling of the two for what it is that he can accomplish. And so it's this weird thing of, for this upcoming season, maybe Okonkwo has some stuff that he's ready to do and contribute. But I think this is both a depth play and a more long-term investment for Hubert Davis and the Tar Heels. The part of this is about his relative youth as a basketball player. He grew up as a tennis player, a fellow Brit. I was born in England, and so was a tennis player for a long time and has come to basketball in recent years, and in fact is a young man himself. It will be his junior season, but he actually reclassified 2 years and came early, or went early, to West Virginia, I should say. And so really interesting stuff. So because of those things, I believe that Okonkwo is a low risk, potential high reward type player, in that definitely low risk, maybe high reward if you can get out of him, training and development and the things you need to do that the Tar Heel coaching staff should be able to do with him. Now, here's the thing. I've been saying all offseason, or at least a lot recently, that Carolina really needs front court depth. For a long time, I thought, really need a four, that somebody that could even be a starter, and that just proved to not be available. And so it kind of turned into, then, the Tar Heels need backcourt depth to help Armando Bacot, to be behind Jalen Washington, Jae'lyn Withers, Harrison Ingram, Zayden High, who all ever it is that's going to be part of that front court rotation. The Tar Heels needed more bodies to help with that, particularly someone that could come in either along with or instead of Jalen Washington, if Washington's playing at the four or whatever it may be. And so for me, I was like, hey, I am happy with Mac Etienne from UCLA. I am happy with Wague or Okonkwo, either of these guys from West Virginia. because again, it's not somebody that needs to come in and be like the dude. It's somebody that needs to come in and be able to give front court depth minutes, which all three of those guys did last season at their various places. And it just turns out that Okonkwo is the winner of that. Wagi has gone elsewhere, and I believe Etienne is still in the transfer portal. Now, there was never any connection with Carolina and Etienne, but again. And so hear me say that what I think is the big win in this with getting Okonkwo is contextualizing it, because like I just said, he doesn't have to be the man or the dude, but with the proper expectations that you have for him of what you need out of him, I think he can deliver and give those things, whether that's just some spot minutes off the bench in the front court, whether it's getting some rebounds or some blocks. He can do that. He's got athletic capability. He's not, the single most athletic guy that you're going to see in college basketball this year, but is athletic. And so hopefully he'll be ready to come right in and do a similar thing that he did at West Virginia the past couple of years. And maybe the more he grows, the more he will be able to contribute in that way. Here's what's pretty crazy to me about what we're going to be able to get from Okonkwo is, like, this guy hasn't even been to campus yet, right? And that worked out pretty well for Carolina last time that happened, which would be Brady Manek. Now, everything I understand is that he still plans to come to campus later at the end of July after he finishes playing at the FIBA U20 Euro Championships, or, just at some point later this summer. So, hey, and man, as you start to think about it, the well was running dry if Carolina was going to get anyone else. And to be frank with you, had this Bob Huggins situation not gone down, I don't know who or if Carolina would have gotten anyone. So call it fortuitous, serendipitous, whatever word you want to use. It worked out in the Tar Heels' favor, and they're able to get somebody that can be helpful for the Tar Heels this season, is another front court body. And so, again, not sure what would have happened if the Bob Huggins situation hadn't happened, but it did, and we'll take it. So a little bit more, if you haven't heard or didn't hear me talk about last week when we talked about James Okonkwo on Tuesday's show, but he's 6'8". However, he kind of plays bigger than 6'8", like somebody that I legitimately think Carolina might put at the 5 on occasion next season and feel comfortable with that, because he's got a longer than 7-foot wingspan and has some requisite girth. Is 230. He's got a couple years of eligibility left. In terms of what he can bring, I think he's not going to be a high level scorer all the time, although he'll contribute in that way. But what I really look for from him is not the same probably defensive presence that I would have looked for from Wagi, but will be able to go get a bunch of rebounds, will be able to block shots. Even though it's been in small sample sizes, his block rate, for example, his block percentage has been high, and is somebody that you project and hope will be able to do good things with that. Now, he's not going to be a stretch four type. He's not much of a 3-point shooter. So that's what you're looking at, is, again, somebody in James Okonkwo who's going to be able to come to Chapel Hill and do just role-playing things right now. And with the right development, who knows what could happen. Okay, so what does this mean for the shape and scope of Carolina's roster next season? What will his role be? What is he doing right now in the FIBA championships? We're going to look at all that in just a second. But first, this episode of Locked On Tar Heels is brought to you by our friends at Bird Dogs. Bird Dog shorts are going to make you look good this summer, whatever it is that you're doing. Their stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of like stiff, restricting fabrics. like cotton. And Bird Dogs fix that issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you get a slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement this summer. Bird Dogs also uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, and I need that. So go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege right now or enter promo code lockedoncollege for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. Once again, that's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or promo code lockedoncollege for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise you. All right, you everydayers, thanks so much for being here with us on Locked On Tar Heels. Make sure you join us all week long on the show. If you have a listener question, I want to remind you of a new way you can submit that. Email us lockedontarheels@gmail.com. Just 10 to 15 seconds with your name, where you're from, and give us your question. You can do it in portrait or landscape mode. Either is fine. All right, folks, here's what I want to get into now. You know, it wouldn't be a conversation about somebody coming or going from the program without a look at the Isaac Schade scholarship chart. So for those of you watching, I'm pulling that up right now so you can see how that has adjusted following Okonkwo's commitment. Obviously, there are now 2 scholarships left, and congrats to Harrison Ingram. You are not now the only junior as part of this roster. Let me run it down. For those of you who aren't aware, college basketball teams can have, or men's college basketball teams, I should specify, get 13 full ride scholarships and can use as many or as few of those as they see fit. Let me run it up from the freshmen all the way to the 3 fifth-year players. Elliot Cadeau and Zayden High are the freshmen. 2 of the 4 sophomores, or 2 of last year's 4 freshmen, are coming back as sophomores. That's Seth Trimble and Jalen Washington. I just joked about it a second ago, but there's 2 juniors now, Harrison Ingram and Mr. James Okonkwo. So that's 6. And then 2 seniors on the team, RJ Davis and Jae'lyn Withers, although both of those guys have COVID eligibility, and meaning they could come back for 1 more year. And then the final group are the 3 fifth-year guys, Armando Bacot, Cormac Ryan, and Paxton Wojcik. So that's 11 total scholarship players currently on the roster and where things stand today. I'm going to leave that up so that those of you who are watching the show can continue to check that out as you'd like to. Okay, so the question for me becomes then, as you think about the scope of that roster, the shape of it, what will James Okonkwo's role be this season? Well, I kind of alluded to it already. I foresee him playing backup type minutes. I don't see him being a starter barring injury or just a complete blow up from him that we didn't expect to see coming. But I think that he could rotate in as needed at either front court position, depending on what lineup Coach Davis is wanting to go with. But I see that capability there from him. Keep in mind, this is something Coach Pat Kilby and I have talked about, is that we've seen injuries from Armando Bacot, whether it's his ankles or whatever it is. And man, you need as much depth in the front court as you can get. And right now, there's just not a ton. Well, prior to James Okonkwo's coming, there just wasn't a ton, but now you get some more of that. So Jalen Washington, Okonkwo, these other guys that I mentioned earlier. But I would look at Washington and Okonkwo as the main guys backing up Armando. The other thing, when you think about role with Okonkwo, is that he is a young guy, started college at 17 and, was still kind of getting used to America, had been over for a little bit. But I mean, that's a real thing. Even though it is his native language, you got to process all those things. We so often thinking about his role this year, like what's he going to do in a game? How might he get in the bench? And I think we think so often about the walk-ons as the people that provide help in practice. Keep in mind, sometimes some of the scholarship guys, that is going to be their best asset right now. And so perhaps the best function, the best thing James Okonkwo can do currently is provide, not the same height as Armando Bacot, but some body size to go up against Mondo in practices and keep him sharp and keep an edge on him. And so that might honestly be one of the biggest parts of Okonkwo's role this season. But you project ahead, assuming he would stay around for his senior year in Chapel Hill, what might he do in a senior year? And again, he does not have COVID eligibility. So next season, 24-25 would necessarily be his last. And, I think a lot of that's going to depend on what his development is this year. Is he someone that with the development in the Carolina system could utilize his athleticism and the other things he's good at, become a big time rebounder, become more of a shot blocker? Carolina frankly hasn't had much of that in recent years. What can he do in that regard for the Tar Heels? And so somebody that legitimately could carve out a bigger role for himself if his development continues in the way it projects to be able to do so. So we look at that. Now, here's what's really interesting is we've known the West Virginia version of him, and you can go look up his stats on that. But what's interesting right now is he's playing a little bit of a bigger role currently. He, as we've talked about, is from England, and part of the reason we anticipated him going or waiting to come to Chapel Hill until the end of the month, the 24th, was that he was trying out for England's under-20 FIBA team for the European Championships, which started last Friday. He made that team, and they've played, as of this recording, 3 games. They played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're off today, Monday, and will play in group games again tomorrow on Tuesday. But Okonkwo on this team is actually playing a much bigger role than he did at West Virginia. Has started all 3 games. England, unfortunately, has only won one of them. But let me just take you through some of his stat lines because it's encouraging. Fridays, England won 62-63 over Austria. He played 29 minutes, 12 points, 10 rebounds. Yes, that's a dub-dub. 5 for 9 shooting from the floor and 0 of 1 from 3. 2 of 4 from the free throw line. Not great there. He's about a career 60% shooter. Had 2 turnovers, but 3 blocks. Then Saturday, the Brits lost to Portugal 63-56. Okonkwo, again, played 26 and a half minutes, 5 points, 10 rebounds, 2 of 6 shooting, 0 of 1 from 3, 1 of 1 from the line. Now, here's a little concerning, 6 turnovers and 1 block. And then on Sunday, yesterday, England lost 67-60 to Luxembourg. And this is the big game for Okonkwo. You ready for this? In 31 minutes, scored 19 points, grabbed 13 rebounds. Yeah, a 19-13 dub-dub. I love to see that. 9 of 15 from the floor, so more than 50%. 0 of 2 from 3, so not so much success there in this tournament so far. 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 1 assist. But here, once again, 6 turnovers on Saturday. He had 8 on Sunday. Got to tidy that up. I know it's just a championship or whatever, but still, you want to see the guys being tight with that. But again, I'm encouraged looking at what he's done with bigger production time. Double-double on Friday, 12 points, 10 rebounds. Not double-double Saturday, but did get double-digit rebounds with 10, and then the 19 and 13 double-double on Sunday. I mean, this guy is putting up numbers. Now, we have to say this. It is not the main division of these Euro Championships. He's playing in the B division, but still, he's going out and doing this. And so encouraged to hear and see that with a bigger sample or, more minutes played. And I don't believe he'll get that just because of opportunity and who's in front of him this year. But it is going to be great experience for him and provide great depth for the Tar Heels. Now, as we've said, Carolina has 11 scholarships handed out in this class. I know you got to get Okonkwo technically signed still, but you hear my point. Still 2 scholarships out there. And the question becomes, Are they done? I posed that off the top of the show in the cold open. At this point, I would say yes, and that they'll give those final 2 scholarships to walk-ons. But here's the thing, folks. In this day and age, you just don't know. We're all kind of giving it our best guess out here. And until school starts and everyone's enrolled, we won't know. That is the new lay of the land, unfortunately. And so I will say the Tar Heels are going to be done, but we'll have to wait and see. And you'll wait with me, and we'll all know together. And so we'll have to keep our eyes on those final 2 scholarships and what will happen with them. Well, I've got some summer league updates for you from some former Tar Heels and some great news from the world of baseball from Matt Horvath coming up in just a second. All right, as I said, we're going to get to some summer league results and just some thoughts I have on that. But I first want to congratulate Matt Horvath on being drafted in the 2023 MLB Draft. He went in the second round, 53rd overall to the Orioles. So great stuff there from Mac. Excited to see what happens next in his life. Okay, so summer league is going on for the NBA. You might or might it might be a little bit confusing to wade through it all because there's these multiple leagues. So let me help set it up. Last week, we had the California Classic, and then we had the Salt Lake City Summer League. Those are just kind of mini truncated leagues. Not all the teams are there. And so you kind of like, cool, great, whatever, some experience. But last Friday actually began the NBA full 30 team Summer League that takes place in Las Vegas, with all 30 NBA teams there, and then you eventually get to a champion. And so this is what I like to, I like to watch the other stuff, but I like to really dial in more on the actual Las Vegas league. And so let me take you through these 4 guys, the 2 guys that came through this year's class being Leaky Black and Pete Nance. And then we'll look at guys that have been around a little bit longer. By that, I mean Brady, Manek, and Garrison Brooks. We'll start with Leaky, who's obviously with the Hornets. The Hornets have played twice now. They played Friday, lost to the Spurs, played Sunday, lost to the Lakers. Unfortunately, Leaky got DNP coaches' decisions on both of those games. So, that's not the most encouraging thing in the world in terms of hoping for good amounts of playing time for him this season, but it's Leaky. He's going to continue working hard, so we'll keep our eyes on the games there. As for Pete Nance, he has been getting playing time with the Cavaliers, who have also played twice, Friday and Sunday. On Friday, they beat the Nets 101-97, and on Sunday, they beat the Raptors 99-76. Pete got between 15 to 20 minutes in both of those games. On Friday, had just shy of 16 and a half minutes, 5 points, 2 rebounds, a steal, and no turnovers. That's always encouraging for a big man. And then on Sunday, 19 and a half minutes, 11 points, 3 of 7 shooting. All 3 of those were threes. So great to see Pete knocking down some threes. 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, and again, no turnovers. So some great showings from Pete. And hopefully, it's just tough because teams already have a good idea of what they want to do. And so you got to come out and really shock them and take them by surprise. Now, as for the other guys that have been out there a little bit longer, Brady Manek, I should say, is playing with the Hawks on Friday. The Hawks lost to the Kings 80-76. However, Brady Manek in 18 and a half minutes was the Hawks' leading scorer with 17 points, second highest in the game. Homeboy shot 6 of 11 from the field, 5 of 10 from deep, 2 rebounds, a steal, a block, and 3 turnovers. A really nice stat line there for Brady. And then on Sunday, last night, the Hawks won over the Nuggets 98-93. And Brady once again played 18 and a half minutes, 4 of 7 from the field, 1 of 2 from the 3-point line, 1 of 1 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds and assists, 2 blocks, and no turnovers. So a nice showing there from Brady Bird. As for Garrison Brooks, he's been getting playing time for the Pelicans. 2 games from them, again, Friday and Sunday. On Friday, Garrow 15-45, 9 points, 4 or 5 from the floor, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, and 2 turnovers. And then last night, Sunday night, They beat the Warriors in the nightcap 94-86. 17 minutes played for Garrison, 6 points, perfect from the field, perfect from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, an assist, a steal, 2 blocks, and 2 turnovers. So a nice rounded out box score there for Garrison as well. But here's what I really, really want to hone in on here for a minute is I keep going back to Brady Manek. This dude, like the NBA values shooting so much. And this dude has great positional height, can shoot and shoot and shoot. And he's proven it over and over and over again. And I just don't see why a team won't take a chance. And I know he's not the most athletic guy. I know his defense is somewhat lacking, but, can hold his own well enough. It just seems like at some point somebody would want to take a chance. But here's the thing with the NBA. It is so difficult to make the league. And so I get that and I hear it. But we'll keep our eyes on it. We'll see what happens with Brady going forward. By the way, a quick fun note. I said I've been traveling. Our family's been driving around. My wife and I and our 2 kids, and kind of been unintentionally making a tour through Tennessee. But in our travels, we just finished off the Beartown trilogy by Friedrich Bachmann, and it is phenomenal. For those of you who like Friday Night Lights, either the book or the show or even the movie, this is kind of like the hockey version of Friday Night Lights, and so would really encourage you to check it out if you might think you would be interested in that. All right, friends, it's a great day to be started back up with a new week of Locked On Tar Heels. Can't wait to be checking back in with you all week. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Heels. You can follow me on Twitter at Isaac Schade. Email the show once again, lockedontarheels@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, smash the like button, and leave your comments on your thoughts on Okonkwo joining the Tar Heels or these NBA guys. Well, really can't wait to get back with you on tomorrow's show. But for now, let me remind you, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, like I said. But until then, peace.